Order the regular commission meeting of St. Croix EMS for Thursday, May 30th. Discussion and possible action on the minutes of May 2nd, 2019 regular EMS commission meeting. Did you guys get a chance to take a look?
I move to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
And I will second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Financial report. I did talk with, did we get a financial report from Allison
Yes, it should be in your packet.
in the packet? Okay.
She sent, well, she and Devin
yes,
sent the
yes, yes.
cash flow and revenue and expenditure report. Further, I sent Allison Brenda's last report, and she was kind of looking it over and figuring out where Brenda's numbers came from. So she
Gotcha. Yeah, I
didn't
talked.
have it prepared for this time. So
Right. And I talked with her it was actually at the joint fire board meeting a couple days ago that she said, I just got this, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to
Sure,
get that
uh-huh.
together, but,
I invited her to the meeting, but
sure.
I don't know if she's busy today or even here, so.
Got it. Thank you. Did you get a chance to review that, Stan, at all?
Which,
The financial report?
oh yeah,
Okay. Any
looks normal.
questions or concerns? Okay.
I reviewed as well. Do we need a motion for that?
I don't think so. Yeah, it's just a review of it.
Yeah.
Mhm. We're not approving any sort of budget adjustments or anything, so, right. All right. Update on Lakeview contract negotiations. We had a meeting, the mayor and I had a meeting last evening with St. Croix EMS personnel and kind of went through sort of what we see as the timing of that, so might as well kind of cover that here. So last week, Thursday, and prior to that meeting, we had received the initial first draft of contract language based on the conversations in the previous committee meetings. So we got a chance to review that and met that evening as a committee, first in closed session to sort of that was the first opportunity that we had as a committee to talk about it as a group to see how we felt about contract language and whatnot. Spent about an hour and a half, 2 hours in that closed session just going point by point and delivered the pieces that we were comfortable with, the pieces that we weren't comfortable with in open session with Lakeview in that meeting. And I would say it was about roughly 2/3 that we voted on through that we're good with the language, and about 1/3 yet that we are coming back tonight to both review and discuss. It's getting closer. There wasn't anything too contentious with it. So, there's two possibilities in the timing of this, depending on how this evening's goes. And so I kind of want to just lay out a little bit of that timing. There is a possibility that at the end of this evening's negotiation that we move to bring that contract to council. So there is a possibility that does come as at least as a discussion, potentially as a vote in this coming Monday's council meeting. So this coming, I think that's June 3rd of that date, right? So that's one possibility. The other possibility is that we don't come to a consensus on the contract language and then we regroup at some point next week, in which case I would say the latest date that comes to a regular council meeting would be the second meeting in June. I believe that's June 17th. Monday, June 17th would be the latest date. So that's sort of timeline one. Again, I am not in a position to know whether or not that contract will pass or not. If it does, we would then be looking at what that timeline would be as that transition period. And I think on the short end, and we haven't had this conversation with Lakeview yet and just asked how long do you see this transition to be. So what I'm about to say is kind of an asterisk to that, right? And that's one thing that we'll broach with them tonight in tonight's meeting. But we think on the short end that it could be as short as 30 days transition period. My sort of gut in it is maybe 6 to 8 weeks as a transition period. So as we look at the latest possible date that hits city council being the 17th, you're looking at that last week in August, or the week of August 19th as being that 8 weeks from that date. So anywhere from the August 1st date, I guess, to that date is sort of what I'm seeing as that window, as that transition period. I also see on the flip side that if this does come to council, does not pass, that we would work on transition phase with St. Croix EMS and as quickly as possible getting out advertisement for a new chief or appoint an interim chief until we get in a new chief and just going down that route.
So
If the contract does not pass, I'm saying.
So you're saying there's a possibility you're gonna stick with St. Croix EMS?
I mean, I'm not in a position, I'm one, remember,
Right.
I'm one council
One vote,
person,
yeah.
right?
I get that.
And so I can't speak to whether it gets approved or not.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay. We did talk a little bit last night, and we as a council will be discussing, should the contract pass, we will be having discussions from an employee standpoint and from a retention standpoint. So similar back to discussions that were happening in 2017 when we went through this process before. And so we will, as a council, have that conversation soon after, if it does pass. Any questions about that piece?
None for me. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions about the contract negotiations? Stan, have you seen any of the language or wish to see any of the language?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Is it mostly around language, or are there any sticky philosophical points in there, or is it just
No,
more
it's
around-
all language. We've had, I was thinking about this last night, how many meetings we have had through this process. It's really making sure that the language is reflective of the thrust of that conversation, right? And making sure that I don't see any huge sticking points. There are points, but I don't know. It depends on Lakeview's flexibility with that, with any of our concerns. And so far, I am not seeing that there is any kind of sticking point. Do you have any questions, Joanne?
No.
Stan?
No, it's
Okay.
Very helpful, thanks.
rooting for you to get it done.
Okay. And again, we're hearing it loud and clear from a lot of different places. I mean, we need to make whatever decision that we're going to be making, we need to make it sooner rather than later. Update on ambulance statistics. So thank you again for the huge document the last time, right? I would like to circle back on this. I think my intent on bringing that, maybe I didn't outline it clear enough of what I was looking for, and I really need to think about what I'm looking for. So please forgive me on that end. What I guess I'm looking for is some sort of new narrative piece, to a recap, to a shift, or to a week, to be able to, and it's not the numbers, it's the sort of the story behind the overall numbers. Does that make sense?
Sure.
But what that is, I think let's hold off until the next EMS commission. Let's
Okay.
get through this hurdle
Yep.
of the contract negotiations and see where we are.
Okay.
Again, I don't want to load any more workload
Sure.
and create something that,
Yep.
right? So, but thank you for,
I threw a few in here
Compiling.
just in case you were interested in those, but yeah.
thank you.
I think, or my recollection is I think, might have been Josh, we'd asked some type of executive summary. So
Right.
what are the numbers telling us?
Right.
So,
And thank you for the update on the staffed ambulances per shift. Did you guys get a chance to take a look at that, Stan? Any questions there?
Nope.
And again, I assume that some of the shifts, I mean, it's very indicative of trying to fill those spots in the position that we are currently in with contract negotiations,
Yes.
right? You're not able to hire, or you're not,
Well, we can, but
right, whether they're people that are willing to. That's more, yeah.
actually, we do have a couple people who are interested, but then we have to give them the long
Heads up that-
explanation and say,
Right. Is there interest beyond that long explanation, out of
Yes.
curiosity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We had two actually yesterday, so, yeah.
Paramedics or?
One paramedic, one advanced EMT.
Gotcha. And to that end, are they local? Are they?
One is a PA going to be working at Regions, wanted to do casual paramedic work.
Okay.
Another one is a person who's going to be moving here, hopes to open a business in Hudson, will live in Stillwater, and has firefighter experience and is an advanced EMT.
I was just going to say, that's advanced.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else on the ambulance statistics? All right. Operations Supervisor's Report. I see that Josh is not here. I was kind of made aware of that a day or two ago. Did we receive any report, or we don't have a report currently,
No, I
correct,
have
to review?
nothing, yeah.
Okay. Anything on the future agenda that we'd like to see beyond what we have here?
I think it might be good, just as we've talked about this before, as a standing agenda item, just any communication requirements or things that we need to talk about with different groups, whether it's St. Croix EMS, whether it's people in the community, whether it's, how do we just make sure that we're doing an effective job at communicating. I think we do that obviously here.
Right.
And I'm not suggesting we need to do more. I just want to make sure that we do a pulse check every meeting, just to make sure that we're communicating. If there's certain groups that we're hearing about that want more information. I know you had mentioned you talked to St. Croix EMS staff. I think that's wonderful. I just want to make sure that we, with some level of oversight, can make sure that we're communicating effectively and timely.
That's a good,
Just as a check-in every meeting.
right on, right on. And you're talking about internal to the
Just
city
the
groups,
status
that
of
type of
everything and
thing?
where we're at. The timeline was very effective today, I think, and
Gotcha.
because I think people, if we're not very direct in our communications, they get their information from different sources that may or may not be true, and
Sure.
then we got other issues, so.
Right. I think I'd like to see a meeting, and I know I'm kind of skipping around here to the next meeting time and day. I think I'd like to get together soon. Seeing that Josh is not here to cover the operations supervisor's report, seeing where we are with contract negotiations. I think it would be good on the next agenda to talk about and this is something that we could add once we see the vote, I suppose, but if it did get voted, what sort of role do you see the commission having in the transition period? Does that make sense? To at least have that discussion?
I don't, you can have a discussion, I don't see very much point in it if we're, you know, I mean, we're just, it's all up to the council. I mean, this commission is advisory to budgets and stuff, you know, and just to make sure that our EMS is operating properly. I don't see any, you know, what we would have any influence on.
Right, I get that, but, you know, there is going to be what I see as a 6 to 8 week transition period, and I think that there is a function of this committee within that transition, potentially. That's all I'm suggesting, that we have that conversation about what is that function.
Okay, I can't, that's what I can't determine what the function is either, so I mean, it's.
Right.
I think there would be value in doing that because I'm envisioning we may be able to provide some help with facilitation or some oversight or being a liaison between different groups or whatever the council can't accomplish on its own. I think we're an extension of them, and with at Lakeview at some point, if the contract is agreed upon. So I could see us playing a role during that transition, but I also, even after the transition period, once the effective date's in place, what is our role then? And is it just to look at reports and?
So an aspect of this, at least the draft language, is that there would be a committee that is formed for oversight,
Okay.
right? The makeup of that is at least drafted. It would all depend if the Village of North Hudson were to contract, then they would be a part of that committee, or Town of Troy, Town of Hudson. We would all sit on one sort of group. And so it would be disbanding this commission per se and going with this.
And I was thinking whether it's called the commission or called the committee, its purpose being one and the same. So it will no longer be the commission, there'll be a committee.
Correct.
But it'd have to pretty much serve that same purpose in terms of what we've been doing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Now, on the flip side, and again, this kind of goes back to not knowing what that vote is, you know, is getting an agenda item on there on the reverse, right? So if the contract does not go through, sort of what strategies do we want to take, and what, you know, I see that as sort of what function do we want as the commission in that scenario as well, right? So.
Well, if it doesn't pass, I'm gonna be asking you to let us out of the contract. You know, that's what I've been waiting, you know, to allow you guys to make a decision.
Okay.
And, you know, I mean, the cost is still the cost. I mean, compared, you know, St. Croix as compared to Lakeview, that's what we have to look at as village.
And you would ask for immediate?
Well, that's up to you, as soon as you guys would allow us out, yeah.
Gotcha. So,
I do think there is value in having that discussion at least. We may conclude that, you know, there's really not much we can or should do, but we should at least have the discussion in terms of what's our role
Yeah.
until whatever date it is that
right,
the transition occurs.
exactly right.
Would you agree, Stan? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, if there is a role, I mean, I don't like having meetings just to have meetings.
Fully agree.
I've done that for too many years.
So, what do we want to set as the next meeting time and date? My next week I'm out of town starting on Thursday. So I'm wondering if we should be could we look at the week following that?
Well, let me ask this, so,
Yeah.
okay, so we got the council meets on the 3rd and the 17th. I'm thinking there may be more value in meeting right after the council meets on the 17th. Well,
Unless they make a decision
unless they make a decision on the
this
3rd.
time.
Right.
Because if we meet before they decide, then there's not much we can probably have to talk about, right?
Correct.
And I would never hold you to this, but you have gut feeling, do you think the 3rd's too soon for a decision to be made? Or do you think it's, the stars are aligning where it might be done, or is it just too hard to tell?
It's too hard to tell. I mean, I saw the draft, the next revision to the draft language on Tuesday is when I received it late afternoon, okay? I sent a rather lengthy email to our legal. So how am I feeling? Could it be? Yes. Could it not be? I just don't have, I guess I don't have a gut sense of it.
Well, maybe being optimistic and in good faith, we'll, for now, assume it happens on the 3rd, and then we can meet
On the 4th?
anytime after the 3rd, before the 17th.
I'm unavailable on the 4th. The only availability would be on the 5th for me, as I'm traveling on the 6th.
And Tuesdays just don't work for me.
Oh, that's right.
5th is no, Wednesdays are no good for me
At all.
at all.
Even next week, Wednesday.
Guaranteed next week, Wednesday.
Got it.
We could go right down the bowling lane here between the 3rd and the 17th and go the week of the 10th.
I think we have to, unless, and you cannot do Tuesday whatsoever. I mean, I have I'm traveling up north on the Tuesday, but I'm back by 1 o'clock. I mean, if we want to do an afternoon,
Which,
Tuesday
the
the 4th, yeah.
right now, it looks like a possibility.
I'm booked solid. I could shuffle the deck and maybe do I could cancel a meeting and go with a 2 o'clock. If Tuesday is our only option, I could do 2 o'clock
Okay, let's
on Tuesday the 4th.
set Tuesday the 4th at 2 o'clock.
Good by me.
And, you know what, let's see what happens after tonight. Joanne, let's connect tomorrow,
Okay.
because we'll know whether that's going to council. We have to
Right.
know that, right, by tonight. So if we know that, and it does go to council, let's just plan on the 4th no matter what,
Good.
right?
And if you don't have a vote, you can cancel it? You
Correct,
cancel the 4th, okay.
correct. But I think it would be, yeah, no, that's it. And we could cancel it on the 4th as well. So do we want to go out any further than that?
I think that would make sense.
I
Yeah,
think
go
we
to
should
the-
set
the-
us,
The Tuesday after the 7th, or the 18th, whatever it is.
yes.
So we're looking at the 18th?
We are looking at the 18th. Which Tuesdays are no good for you, you said.
Yeah, I've got standing meetings in the morning at the hospital.
Quite frankly, the afternoon would be better for me that week.
Okay. I could do, oh boy, something later, 3:30, 4-ish.
Okay. Or do you want to just double check and then email?
Yeah, well,
Or-
my calendar's up to date, so I would
Oh,
say
okay.
4 o'clock
4 o'clock?
on the 18th.
Okay. Would that work for you, Joanne?
Sure.
Okay. Stan?
Yep.
Okay. So we have, just to confirm, we have 4 the June 4th at 2 PM, June 18th at 4
4
PM.
PM, yes.
And it all depends on
Your vote
our,
tonight.
right,
yes.
right.
Okay.
Very good.
Excellent.
Motion to adjourn?
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
All right.